Let's go to Dave Sharma now, the Shadow Assistant Minister for the Treasury. He joins us live from Sydney. Good to talk to you, Dave. First up, going to this reform roundtable tomorrow. When we hear about tax increases and a carbon tax and a 4-day week, where's the prospect of reform that will actually benefit the economy here?
Well, I think all the ideas that have been aired so far, Chris, are going to take us further backwards, whether it's, shutting down the use of artificial intelligence in the workplace, which is what the unions want, whether it's 4-day work weeks, whether it's abolishing the Productivity Commission. And the one thing we haven't heard the government talk about is probably the most important thing, which is spending restraint. We've got 4 out of 5 jobs being created are in basically the public sector at the moment, and government is growing at 4 times the rate of the economy, a rate we haven't seen in 40 years. And that is putting a huge dampener on private sector growth, innovation and employment.
Well, this is what's been completely missed here. I ran comments from Anthony Albanese just now where he trumpets his reforms and he lists Gonski and bulk billing and aged care reforms. And these are all things where government is giving more money to people for free. This is making more stuff from government free. That's the problem, not the solution.
Yeah, well, I remember the time when a reform meant something that would basically make the boat go faster. It was designed to remove obstacles to business activity and allow the economy to grow more fulsomely. When Labor uses the word reform, it's in an Orwellian sense. It basically means more taxpayer money or more regulation or a larger government role in the economy. That's not a reform in the traditional sense of the word or in the conventional understanding of it.
The one area where they are speaking sense is when it comes to trying to get rid of regulation, trying to get rid of red tape. Now, all governments talk about this, but if they could do something meaningful there, that would be useful, making it easier for companies to invest here and create jobs. But they still refuse to go down the path of any labour market reform, getting rid of all the union regulations that stymie all sorts of activity in this country.
Look, I just make the point. I mean, I'm fully on board, and the Liberal Party's fully on board with the idea that we need to, deregulate parts of the economy and remove rules. But I'd make the point. I mean, the government has added 787 pages to the Fair Work Act, of legislation to the Fair Work Act in its first term in office, dealing with things like casual employment. One of their first pieces of legislation in this new parliament is to basically legislate for penalty rates. So they've made the industrial relations system vastly more complex. They've added about 5,000 regulations in their first term in office. So even if they were just proposing to undo some of the damage they've already done, I would welcome that, but it needs to go a lot further.
Yeah, there's no doubt that winding back their labour market changes would boost the economy. Any decent economist would recognise that. They've been going in the wrong direction. I want to just pick your brains, though, before we let you go, Dave Sharma, because of your foreign policy expertise, especially as a former Australian ambassador to Israel. Another stunning move from the Albanese government today, with Tony Burke rejecting the visa of Simcha Rothman. He's a member of the Knesset. He's a member of the governing coalition in Israel at the moment, and he's been refused a visa, banned from this country for 3 years. Do you know of this particular politician? What on earth could have triggered this? And what's your assessment of what this says about relations between Australia and Israel right now?
Well, look, I don't know Mr. Rothman personally. He wasn't in the Knesset, or at least politically active as far as I'm aware, when I was serving as ambassador. But look, prima facie, I would say that elected representatives from democratic nations, liberal democracies with a friendly relations with Australia, the presumption should always be they are granted a visa, they are entitled to visit Australia, even if we don't always agree with their views. I would like to know the basis on which Tony Burke has cancelled this visa, because it seems as though it was issued, and what are the comments in particular that he finds so troubling that he think would incite social unrest here in Australia.
Yeah, we need more specifics on that, because the way they're going, just about anyone opposed to Hamas is described as some sort of hate preacher. Just briefly, news poll today shows that Australian voters are more concerned about US tariffs on Australia than they are about the Chinese military threat. Are we living in a world of delusion just at the moment?
Look, it's not a judgment I would share, obviously. I think the threat of tariffs, I guess, is something that's been in the news a lot and seems very immediate. The military threat posed by China is something that is, creepingly becoming more and more of an issue, but it's sort of a time frame of, I guess, years rather than days or weeks. And perhaps it just reflects, what's out of sight is out of mind for the Australian public. But I think any defence or security expert knows that our strategic environment is deteriorating, and China's growth and assertiveness is a large part of that.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us, Dave Sharma. I appreciate it.